Hey guys, Justin here. Quick note, this is going to be a first lap hot lap, and also enjoy the bonus commentary about the Hyper Beast skin in CSGO.
Hey, I like Hyper Beast.
I know it looks cool
No, there's
in
nothing
game,
wrong with
but
it.
You
like
like Hyper
wearing,
Beast? I'm gonna beat your ass, Antics. Next time we see each other, I'm gonna beat your fucking
but
ass.
like imagine wearing a pattern on a hoodie in real life for the Hyper
This
Beast.
pattern does not belong on a hoodie.
Dude, next time you see me,
No,
be careful.
but you can eat your ass beat.
It is a cool design, man. I like it a lot.
It's a cool design for a gun skin, not for a freaking hoodie.
I think they came out with like a PC skin too. They did a collab with like NZXT.
Alright, let's take a look at that. So this is going to be a first lap hot lap as I said, and the out lap is more or less the same as what I talk about. It's the stay up high and then try to cut a little low and then make a straight line exit. So when I say cut low, I don't mean actually go to the yellow line. Usually you have to slow your car down a little too much for that to happen. All I mean is that you want to see your car start traveling down the hill instead of wanting to slide up to the wall when you get back onto full throttle. If you get back on full throttle and the car is already kind of going to the wall and you kind of have to start feathering it, you kind of have to turn your steering wheel a lot, that means that you did it too early and you're losing overall speed because of it. So you can see how I did it here. You use this seam as a reference. So you can see how I'm moving down in relation to the seam, and that's when I go full throttle. So even though it only takes me about a lane down, that's about as much speed as I could have possibly squeezed out of that, give or take a tiny bit. So that's a good run up. So now let's go. I'm not going to take the apron here on the first lap because when you shortcut the apron like this on the first lap, that's great. You gain a couple hundredths, but it's all about this transition. It really slows down your car a little bit back onto the track. So what happens is that you are almost more or less even going into the corner, but your entry speed is less. So you end up losing. So I just stay on the yellow line here. We're going to go all the way up to the wall here on entry. And the line I like to do in 1 and 2 is a tiny bit of a late apex. I tried to mess around with getting to the yellow early. That's more of a long run type idea, I think. But you can see how there's kind of a darker groove here. And a lot of the times this darker groove is correct at kind of letting you know where you want to be. Sometimes it isn't correct, but a lot of the times it is. So that's a good starting point. But it's usually like the lower end of the darker groove. So I'm going to aim for the very low end of the dark groove here. And then I want to make sure that as I keep going into the corner, my car starts getting closer and closer to the yellow line until I apex at least halfway through the corner, but optimally a little bit further. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to find a steering wheel and a throttle input that will allow me to just keep the status quo of slowly moving towards the yellow line. And so I found that with this much steering wheel and about 55-60% throttle. So you can see just a tiny brake tap to help turn the car, then get back to half throttle. Then I'm searching for the amount of throttle I need. And then once I get close to the yellow line, I start raising my throttle. And then right before I get to the yellow line is when I gas up. Because when you gas up, that takes your trajectory from kind of going into the apron and kind of kicks it back to go a little straighter. And that's kind of what I need to make that corner there. And because I apex so late, this allows me to have a really comfortable drive off because it's more or less just a straight line, not even much steering wheel involved. So not using much steering wheel is good because I'm not kind of bogging my own car down with other inputs. I can just get pedal to the metal pretty much. So we're going into 3 and 4 here. And I was messing around with this line a lot. I was really trying to make the bottom work because it just feels right. Kentucky bottom just kind of feels right to me, but no, for hot lap at the very least, the second lane is going to be faster in my opinion. And you can see it again, the dark groove is telling the truth once again. So aiming for kind of the bottom part of the dark groove here, I'm going to, instead of braking as I'm already turning down the hill like in 1 and 2, this is a little bit more tighter of an entry. So I'm going to brake a little earlier, get that tap, kind of point me in the direction of having my left rear tire kind of aiming at this area right here, if that makes sense. You kind of want to use your nose or your left front tire as the reference. and then I'm aiming for this seam right here, and I'm just getting on partial throttle as early as I can. So you can see I get on partial throttle right after my last little brake tap, and I'm just holding that partial throttle. And here's the key. A lot of people really, when I tell them stay on the seam, they'll try to stay on the seam the whole corner. But if you're fighting your car too much, then this is slow and you'll probably spin out. So you can see how I have a certain set amount of wheel that I'm allowing myself to input. And in this case, it's this much wheel. And that's a lot of wheel. That's going to burn right front. So that's why I don't really like this line for the race. But you can see as I'm starting to slide up, even with that amount of wheel. And I'm saying, okay, I'm not going to add anymore. I'm not going to force the car anymore. I'm going to start letting it slide up the track marginally and just kind of make sure that all of my tires stay engaged. And I'm just going to use my momentum to carry my lap time instead of trying to shortcut the exit. Now, in a perfect world, I would have stayed on that line a little longer, but if the car doesn't want to stay on that line, then you just got to cooperate with it. It's not going to be that much slower. What's more important than the line itself is being able to get your throttle down really early and being able to keep all the tires engaged. And you can kind of see that reflected on the lap time, how I'm able to carry a lot of speed out of the corner, even if it does seem like my angle wasn't completely optimal. And then again, we'll take the apron here. Nothing to lose here. We're not having to get back on the track. This is probably an extra 100th or two. And there we go. So let's take a look at the long run now. And there we go. All right, so I did a little 20-lap test run here, and this thing is tight as crap on the long run. So this reminds me of some older beef fix-ups that I hope I wouldn't be seeing anytime soon, but here we are. So this setup, there is nothing that you can drive it loose. So you're just going to have to be in tire saving mode from lap 1, in my opinion. And I messed up a couple times, and I ended up at 74.84. It's really hard to end on neutral tire wear in these because I'll just show you. We'll go to like lap 5 or something. So even with just a little bit of wear on the tires, it doesn't want to rotate on its own. Like, I'll get a little loose on early run, but it's just feeling really tight entry and center pretty much all the time for me, especially in 3 and 4. 3 and 4, I wasn't patient enough with. I was pushing my car a little bit too early. So you see how I'm doing an okay job of not turning the steering wheel after I get full throttle, but it's probably still too much. And you'll see, let's just go 10 laps into the future. This is 1 second of fall off already. And you see, I can get to the bottom, but the moment I start trying to go full throttle, it'll just shoot up the track, and I almost hit the wall. And that probably was too early full throttle too. 3 and 4 especially. That's too early a throttle, I think, because now it's like, oh boy. Now I'm just wheeling the car to keep it off the wall. And I think I messed up in this next lap too, so this will be fun to watch. But you pretty much just have to go into the idea that you don't want to gas up too early, and that'll save your tires a lot. I'm just getting baited a lot into thinking that my car handles better than it does, so I just get on the throttle a little too early, and that'll just destroy right front tire. See there, I went full throttle there, and see it's just shooting up the track. I'm like, oh, what is this? Do you see how much rotation I had at corner center here? I'm right on the yellow, and I'm just kind of used to being able to go full throttle in this situation and having it kind of rotated a little. Well, no, you can't do that anymore. This is a tight setup. So you get down here, and I would just hold partial throttle. Instead of going full throttle here, I would just hold half throttle for another second or two, and then you're in the clear to go full throttle. But going full throttle here, I couldn't. I had to use so much steering wheel, I almost hit the wall. It was just a mess. But I plateaued around this lap time at the very least. I started taking advantage of those wider arcs and just more partial throttle, less aggression on the throttle in general. And that's what you're going to need to do. You're going to need to utilize a lot of partial throttle to save your tires. You're going to need to do some early entries. You're going to need to just wait a little bit longer than you think you need to get back onto full throttle. And you don't want to push your opening laps too much. because that's a big temptation and be fixed on these tight setups, is that you can make up tenths of a second on people that you think are really, really good. And then 10, 20 laps later, they have some tires left and you don't. So just fight the temptation. This is going to be a tire save fest for the entire race until, I guess, 5 laps to go, or if this goes to pretty much checker or something like that. But I can't see this setup being anything other than a save fest. So be smooth on everything, be delayed on everything, be early on entries, delayed on exits. Just give yourself a lot of room to keep your tires. That's really all I can say. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you all on the track.